spawning 2 sequels, a remake in 2014, an animated series, a live-action series, toys, video games, comics, and various other merchandise and media. The original 1987 film that follows police officer Alex Murphy through a tragic end and subsequent resurrection was set to make an impact on the film industry one way or another. Originally declined due to the satire found in the story, then heavily censored due to the extreme violence intentionally emphasized by director Paul Verhoeven to essentially lean into the satire and almost comedy, RoboCop was already controversial before the public even got a hold of it. But when we did, the rest was history. An amazingly new concept, perfectly executed practical effects, even still exaggerated gore, audiences couldn't get enough. Peter Weller carries us on the journey of Murphy as he finds himself in the wrong place, meeting his demise by the hands of Clarence Boddicker and his ruthless gang. But this wasn't the end. We see Murphy resurrected, only no longer as Murphy, but as a part-human, mostly cyborg, robot police officer called RoboCop. It was OCP, or Omni Consumer Products' intent for the history of the human to be deleted and only be a mindless cyborg made for one job, but somehow Murphy finds his way through and we get to enjoy the depths that Weller finds in the role, in the man behind the mask, the helmet. If you've yet to see the original version, I definitely recommend it, but with a caution that it is for mature audiences as plenty of violence, gore, and adult content still made it through. Prepare yourself, though, because you will also want to see the sequel. Hey everyone, my name is Jonathan, aka JK of JK Collects, and remember, I'll be posting a new video at least twice a week, if not more. And if that sounds of interest to you, please click that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. In this episode, we are taking a closer look at the Neca Toys 7-inch scale Ultimate RoboCop. Hey everyone, welcome back, and here we have it, the Neca Toys Ultimate RoboCop. Why is my hand in the screen right now? Because if I let go, the box does want to kind of tip forward, and it kept wanting to fall. Not any fault to the quality or anything like that, it's just the bottom paper has a little bit of a bow to it, and I didn't want it to fall over. So there we go, I mean, just right off, great looking packaging. I don't know if it plays through on here, but there's almost like an iridescence to the inking on this, which matches right like the iridescence that he had on the on his armor. So here's the back, several different views of this character. I'm gonna assume that these are views of the toy and not from the movie. At least that's what I'm going with, because I really want that to be the thing. Spring-loaded holster. Look at this, man, part machine, all cop. Future of law enforcement. I'm still waiting for that, right? I think we're in the future versus 1987. But here we go, on the side, there we go, we got old Peter Weller, aka Murphy's face showing through. Very excited about that. And on the side, we got the mask / helmet showing through. And with just that iconic look of him stepping out of the Ford Taurus police cars of Detroit PD. All right, well, without further ado, let's take a look in here. Let's pop this flap open. There we have him posed, and here's everything that comes with it. That massive cannon, the spike, his gun, a blast effect. Okay, you know what? Let's just bust it open and take a look at this stuff. What am I pointing it out for if we're about to do the same thing with it out of the package? Okay, so let's break into this guy. I am very excited. Much like the Crow, if you've seen that one, I am a big RoboCop fan, always have been, even as a kid, when just the absolutely gory and violent movie. It drew me in. Just something about a robotic police officer cyborg thing. It's just made for kids. There's a little nice city alley background for it. Looks like it's a miniatures thing, but very cool. Nice little details when you have those backgrounds. It's not just a piece of cardboard, right? All right, so let's pluck these pieces out of here. This is massive. God, do you remember that thing and the destruction that it caused? Man, oh man. All right, let's pull the data spike hand out. The head wants to just come right out. I appreciate its enthusiasm. Let's get this blast effect out. Let's get his automatic little pistol. And let's get the cyborg man himself. Officer Murphy / RoboCop. Look at that. I'm fighting, and I just assumed that there was nothing holding it in, and sure enough, there is a black string holding him back. Okay, So let's take a look at these accessories as usual. All right, first and foremost, we will start with the weapons as usual. So let's get some focus in here, right? So there is his cannon, right? That humongous semi-automatic gigantic pistol that he packs in the side of his leg, right? How cool was it whenever he would fire that thing, like 3 shots at a time or something like that, coming out of this little pistol? And of course it was the 80s, so even though you've got this tiny handle which would hold the magazine, it was infinite ammo, right? I mean, of course, he's RoboCop. Cool detail on it. With it being all black, I feel like maybe some missed opportunities with some of the detail that could have come through on this, right? I feel like it was for some reason in my mind, I'm seeing a lot more detail on this weapon. But hey, maybe a little bit of a gray, as usual, would have made it shine through. And then this gigantic thing, right? Talk about excess, of the 80s. Okay, well, so there's already a little bit of a thing to look out for. So the support stands are just pegged in ever so slightly. So just be careful in rotating them. You might want to give it a little bit of support to not let it come out, because it's just that little curved piece that's holding a peg in there. So, but not bad. It goes right back in. No damage done. This one also in just regular cast black plastic. And yes, the weapon was entirely black in the movie, and they did put a little bit of paint in here for the scope / screen. That gigantic thing looks like you're ready to film a movie. Will this do that? Oh no, no removable magazine, but that's okay. Yeah, not everything can be completely removable, right? And we've got the strap for it to carry it over the arm to really just go do some serious damage. There's a little bit of a twist here, I guess, in the barrel. I don't know if you can see at the very end where it would be straight. It kind of rotates just a little bit, so it's a little off kiltered. It's not completely horizontal. But it does have the opening right there for a blast effect. So let's bring a blast effect out here, right? So this is the one that comes with it. When you look at this, is anybody else seeing like a lemon head? Maybe a lemon flavored sour candy, right? This is the sour powder on it, and you're ready to eat it. I hate to say it, but that is what I see. Hopefully when stuck on the end of a weapon, it maybe takes that away. Or I might have just ruined it for everybody. So it does have that angular effect to it, which is for the end of this weapon. And it sticks in. Instead of having a hole at the end of the barrel, it just sticks into, the weapon itself sticks into the effect. And there we go. You know, not bad. But I think that, could it have been better? Yeah, absolutely. There are definitely better blast effects out there. And it might just be because this looks like it is a piece of sour candy. And I love sour candy, so I'm very tempted to eat it. Here is the data spike, right? So he can jam it into the computer and learn more about who he is, and you know, just really start to rebel against OCP. God, look at that thing, right? It's Wolverine when he's mad at somebody, right? Just let one claw out. But very cool. The paint on it, not bad, right? So the silver ends where the silver's supposed to end. I'm not sure if that's. Let's see if we can get clearer focus on that. See, I'm not sure if that's a little bit of glue or something like that right there at the base shining through, but it seems like it should just be a straight silver spike coming out of there. Not everything can be perfect, right? Decent looking little fist gauntlet thing. Maybe some details could have been washed in there with some paint. But speaking of detail, look at this, right? Oh my gosh. If you've seen this movie, do you remember that first moment where you saw him without the helmet? This look right here, it was very jarring for me. But I do appreciate, look at the paint detail and apps on this thing. This is the kind of stuff I always look for when we see something, right? So there's all this detail. They spent this time sculpting into this head, and they also took some time to add some paint to help bring it out. Even through here, through these vents, there's a little bit of like almost like a brownish wash in there just to show that there's depth to it. And through here, just to really make things pop. And it's a very metallic looking blue that they used. So it's just, yeah, this is good. I mean, the paint is not perfect, I will say that, but it is nice to see that this additional effort was put in to highlight the effort that was put in by the sculptors or the sculpting team or whoever did this wonderful work right here. I mean, that definitely looks like Peter Weller, definitely looks like Murphy. I think they did a great job on that. Even the paint for the face, it is a little shiny, a little glossy, but the wound right there in the head, where you can see that this looks like it's recessing into the head, very interesting. And then just the blush and all that. The eyes definitely have a very creepy look to them. Not perfect, but I would say way better than I would ever do. Okay, now let's look at the man himself. Okay, so here he is, RoboCop. And you know what? Just picking this up, it feels like it's a pretty solid feeling figure. I don't know how to quite describe it, but there's a weight to it almost doesn't feel like quite normal. But yeah, so let's take a look at him. One thing that really stands out right here, right? Remember I mentioned the iridescence that shows up on the armor? I appreciate that it shows through on this. I've seen a lot of RoboCop figures where this doesn't happen, right? It's more just this color all the way across. But taking that detail and getting that slight purple to it where it has that crazy, almost like, you know, because there's probably maybe oil on it to keep him from rusting, right? He's a giant tin man of a police officer, but he's got that iridescence to him for those that protective layer, and it shows on there, so that's very good. The actual RoboCop head with the helmet on, very cool. We've even got police, CCP police written on there. You see that? So an excellent little detail to have that sculpted in there. And to be quite frank, in watching the movie, I can't say that I had ever noticed that being there. So now I'm going to keep my eyes open for it. I'm going to have to watch it yet again. I can't believe I never noticed. Well, it'll probably be so blatantly obvious now that I see it. But, you know, same amount of detail, right? We've got that same iridescence to the paint. Very nice metallic looking paint. The black is very well applied. No real issues standing out there. A little bit there where it looks like the line is kind of slightly where like the flesh ends right at that line, and black maybe should be there. And then the chin part, right? So where we're getting into the flesh tones in the black, that crossover, that transition definitely has some issues. Let's see, there we go. Yeah, you see that? Almost looks like some of it, say, his face spilled out onto the helmet, the strap. But yeah, okay, let's check out some flexibility. So the neck is separate from the torso, and I believe it appears that the head is, yes, the head is attached to the neck, as we can see, but there's clearly some form of a ball joint in there. So side to side, pretty good. Neck controlled, right? So it's planted in down there, so we've got a little bit more leverage. Up and down, this is up, right? So this back armor is definitely getting in the way. Down, much better, right? That's certainly far from just straightforward, but up is basically a well-postured, straightforward look. But can we do, yes, of course, a cyborg human robot police officer can do the full exorcist rotation. Okay, let's take a look at the rest. Let's take a look at some shoulder, right? So he was not a mobile cyborg, right? Just from design, right? There was no way that this was going to clear this in real life, right? So it doesn't go very high. It goes to the side like this, and it's just not going much farther out, right? We don't really have a lot of room for it. It's a very interesting joint in there. I don't see any kind of butterfly or anything to try and give it more movement, but it does have full rotation, so I will give it that. RoboCop himself did not have rotation here. He did have a functioning elbow, and he does have that elbow that doesn't even make it to 90 degrees. But, you know, he's a cyborg from the 80s. He's not really going to have a lot of mobility. And then, of course, we don't really have any wrist rotation or forearm rotation. There's nothing, right? So it is fixed, just like that, okay? And on this side, you know, same thing. Same thing with the shoulder. Same thing with the elbow. And this wrist does rotate because it is designed to be pulled off for the data one to be plugged on. Easier taken off than put on, but with a little bit of wiggling and convincing, there we go. We've got our data spike ready to rock and roll. I'm gonna take that off and put the other one back on just because I don't want to take a risk of bending or damaging the data spike. Now it is a somewhat flexible, but it's hard plastic. It's not like that rubbery. It's just flexible because it's thin, so be very careful with that one. It could easily snap if it falls over on a display or something like that. So make sure it's properly balanced. Mid-torso flexibility, we do have some, right? We've got some rotation, but this armor and the whole setup just kind of gets in the way. So this piece coming up the back, it definitely blocks a lot of that rotation. Forward and backwards, not much, right? So backwards and forwards, that's as far as we get. We do have waist rotation because, of course, as a RoboCop, he did have it. Look at him fancy walking. There we go. And then there's, just forget about a split. It wasn't going to happen. We do have the up and down rotation that, of course, these giant leg thigh mechanical pieces would allow for that. So this is the movement that we have for the legs. A little bit of side to side. The knee, not a lot, right? So how is a cyborg going to limber up anyway? All right, enough of talking about how he's a cyborg and he can't do much. So the knee has very minimal flexibility. The foot does have a good up and down, and if you notice, the piston is functional, right? So that piece tracks with it. It's those little things, right, that just, I'm like, okay, you paid a little bit of extra attention to some cool little details, things you didn't have to do, right? But there it is. That piston does track with it, and it is on both sides, right? So there we go. And it's fairly flexible, right? So it does track very well and doesn't seem like there's any issue because it rotates on that and pushes up in there. So very cool. I am greatly appreciative of that. And now the last thing I want to test out here is it said spring-loaded leg. So let's try. Oh, would you look at that? That is awesome, right? So that one of the coolest features of RoboCop, right? He had this humongous semi-automatic pistol, but he could just store it in his leg. That is just great. Now, can it store it in the leg? That is the question. Let's try it. Let's. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. I feel like this is maybe just a cool little gimmicky feature. But let's. Oh gosh, I'm gonna break it. Maybe I already did. Okay, so you know what? Just a heads up on that one. Be very careful. I think I can. Yeah, I think I can put it back together, and I will do that off. Oh, there we go. So it just snaps back together very easily. And then, yeah, just from looking at how this closes, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of clearance. If I find out otherwise, I will let you know. But here he is. Let's see how he stands so we can get to some 360s of old RoboCop. And there he is, standing pretty well on his own, which would be expected. There's not a lot of articulation to him, and he's pretty flat-footed. So we'll be right back with some 360s. Okay, and here he is, Officer Alex Murphy, aka RoboCop, 360 view. Great figure, right? Not a lot of articulation to be had with a RoboCop figure. One thing that I will throw in there that I learned while trying to pose, the other hand, the left hand, does have rotational capabilities. It was just a little stuck, maybe from some of the paint or whatever. But both forearms do rotate, the wrists do not. So just wanted to add that in there. Otherwise, I am excited about the purchase. A big RoboCop fan. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Well, that about does it. Thank you for checking us out and for joining us on this collecting journey, as always. Look for at least 2 new videos each week, if not more. If you got something from today's episode and you haven't already, please subscribe and click that like button. It would really help us out, and it would truly mean a lot to me. If you'd like to see some more videos, there are a couple of quick links on your screen right now for you to check out. No matter what, thanks for taking the time. And we are all in this world of collecting together. Let's look out for each other. Thanks.